I watch the episodes, I do tend to dislike him a little bit.
KODY Brown, once the proud patriarch of the sprawling Brown family made famous by TLC's Sister Wives, now finds himself in unfamiliar emotional territory. As the dust continues to settle from the crumbling of his plural marriages, KODY is reportedly looking to mend the shattered relationships with his adult children, but skepticism abounds. The once charismatic father figure who championed plural unity now appears more isolated than ever, and while he may be expressing regret and longing for reconnect, not everyone is buying it. Fans, former wives, and even some of the children themselves are questioning whether his efforts are genuine or just another performance in a long-running reality saga marked by manipulation, control, and broken trust. In recent months, KODY has hinted on several occasions that he feels disconnected from most of his kids. With Mary, Yanel, and Christine now fully separated from him and Robin being the only remaining wife, his large family unit has dwindled to a shadow of what it once was. The camera lenses that used to document family meals, group decisions, and religious discussions now mostly capture fractured moments and individual reflections. His relationships with several of his older children have deteriorated drastically, with some reportedly not speaking to him for years. KODY has publicly acknowledged this strain and expressed a desire to rebuild those bonds. But it seems that the sudden shift in his narrative from an authoritarian father and husband to a remorseful and reflective man seeking forgiveness hasn't quite convinced everyone. The trouble began long before KODY's public statements. Longtime viewers of Sister Wives will remember that as the show progressed, KODY increasingly appeared to play favorites among his wives and children. His bond with Robin and her children grew visibly stronger, while his involvement with the rest of the family began to falter. The COVID-19 pandemic only widened these rifts. KODY's strict protocols created a wave of conflict, particularly with Yanel's and Christine's children, who felt unjustly excluded and disrespected. Gabriel and Garrison, Yanel's sons, became central figures in this dispute, voicing their frustration and heartbreak at being seemingly pushed aside by a father they once adored. As the series documented, these tensions didn't simply dissolve after the pandemic. Instead, they hardened into emotional walls. Garrison's tragic death by suicide in 2024 further complicated KODY's family dynamics. Though he publicly mourned and attended the services, critics pointed to his prior estrangement from Garrison as a painful irony. Many fans and observers asked, where was this concern when Garrison was alive and pleading to be heard? Now, KODY's attempts at reconciliation are viewed through the lens of that tragedy. Some feel that his sudden openness is less about sincere reflection and more about guilt or image rehabilitation. Others wonder if the financial decline of the Brown family, another theme woven deeply into recent seasons, is playing a role in his motivations. With the show's longevity possibly threatened and his lifestyle drastically downsized, reconnecting with his children might offer more than just emotional reward. It could mean continued relevance and a stronger narrative for television producers to follow. Yanel, who was always seen as practical and independent, has voiced skepticism about KODY's priorities. She has questioned whether his desire to heal the family stems from a real place of empathy or a convenient realization that he no longer holds the reins of control. Her pointed comments about KODY's treatment of their sons have resonated with viewers, many of whom praised her for standing by her children even when it meant challenging KODY directly. Christine, who has built a new life away from Flagstaff and is thriving in her remarriage, seems largely uninterested in facilitating a reconciliation between KODY and their children unless it is initiated by the kids themselves. Her stance is protective. She endured years of feeling unloved and unappreciated in the plural marriage and now wants to shield her children from similar pain. She has, however, been supportive of her children's decisions, whether they choose to rebuild their relationships with KODY or not. Mary, whose relationship with KODY had dissolved into a cold, formal arrangement long before their official separation, remains more reserved about the subject. Though she has not been as vocal as Yanel or Christine, Mary's public silence about KODY's reconnect efforts speaks volumes. She, too, has suffered under the weight of KODY's favoritism and emotional withdrawal, and has likely had to do her own emotional calculus before trusting any renewed intentions from him. The children, for their part, have shown a range of responses. While some remain entirely estranged and uninterested in any form of contact, others are more cautious, willing to explore conversations but not without boundaries. Logan, the eldest son, has kept his distance from the drama, focusing on his own marriage and career. Maddie, who shares a close bond with Yanel, has expressed deep pain over the family's implosion but has not publicly indicated a desire to reconcile with KODY in any meaningful way. Isabel, one of Christine's daughters who had spinal surgery during the pandemic without KODY at her side, still carries visible scars from his absence. Her experience was one of the most criticized moments in the show's recent history, as KODY chose not to travel to be with her due to his pandemic rules, prompting fans to accuse him of emotional negligence. Perhaps the most heartbreaking response came from Gabriel. His tearful confession during a past Sister Wives episode, in which he revealed that KODY forgot his birthday and failed to check on him for weeks, was a gut-wrenching moment that resonated deeply with viewers. That betrayal, Gabriel implied, was not something that could be fixed with a simple apology or belated affection. As for Robin, the only wife still in a spiritual and legal union with KODY, her position complicates matters further. She has often been seen as the gatekeeper between KODY and the rest of the family. Her children enjoy more of KODY's attention, and she has rarely challenged his choices on screen. While she has occasionally expressed sadness about the family's breakdown, critics argue that she benefited the most from the divisions and did little to prevent them. For some viewers and family members, her presence in the reconciliation effort is viewed not as helpful but as a reminder of the favoritism and imbalance that broke the Brown family in the first place. KODY's recent interviews and on-screen reflections have painted him as a man in crisis, searching for meaning in the wreckage of his once grand vision of plural harmony. He speaks now of pain, loss, and longing, of mistakes made and connections lost. But the tone doesn't always match the gravity of his past actions. Words, after all, are easy. It's the behavior over time that tells the real story. When asked if he regrets how things turned out, KODY has admitted to feeling that he failed as a father and husband. But he often frames these admissions in abstract, philosophical terms, rather than acknowledging specific behaviors that caused pain. That lack of personal accountability remains one of the central reasons many of his children and former wives struggle to trust him again. The show's fans, ever vocal and emotionally invested, have also weighed in heavily. Social media platforms are filled with commentary, much of it critical of KODY's late-stage transformation. Memes, discussion threads, and opinion videos dissect his every word and expression. Some fans believe he's finally showing vulnerability, while others believe it's just another act designed to regain control or sympathy. The truth likely lives somewhere in the middle. KODY Brown may very well be experiencing genuine regret. He may miss his children, ache for family dinners, and yearn for the chaos and joy that came from a home full of kids. He may feel overwhelmed by the silence that now surrounds him in Robin's home, a silence filled with what ifs and memories. But genuine regret requires more than words. It demands accountability, consistent change, and the humility to let go of ego and pride. What comes next for KODY and his children remains uncertain. The show will likely continue to capture these dynamics, though the format and tone may shift as more family members withdraw from public view. Whether or not KODY's relationships with his children are truly salvageable depends less on producers or cameras and more on the quiet, difficult work of rebuilding trust brick by brick. For now, viewers and family alike watch and wait. They look for signs of real change, not just tearful monologues or carefully crafted interviews. They hope for healing, even as they remain cautious. After all, this family has weathered more than its share of storms, and the scars run deep. If KODY Brown truly wants to reconnect with his children, he'll have to prove it not with promises, but with presence, patience, and the willingness to listen, truly listen, for the very first time. KODY Brown's latest move with his family signals an emotional turning point. In the swirling chaos that has come to define the Brown family of TLC's Sister Wives, it's rare to see a moment that feels like a pause, a breath, a true turning point in the emotional storm that has enveloped them for over a decade. But KODY Brown's most recent actions suggest that something deeper is shifting. Whether it's a true attempt at reconciliation or a subtle repositioning of power within the remnants of the once large polygamous clan, the message is loud and clear. Something inside KODY Brown has changed, and for better or worse, it's making waves across his fractured family. The man who once stood proud at the helm of a plural family consisting of 4 wives and 18 children is no longer that confident patriarch. What remains today is a man confronting the rubble of his past decisions, standing at a crossroads between rebuilding trust or further isolating himself. His most recent move has struck a chord, leaving fans and followers wondering whether this marks the beginning of healing or simply another manipulative gesture. The Brown family, once symbolizing unity in the unconventional practice of plural marriage, has now become a symbol of emotional unraveling. Years of suppressed resentment, neglected relationships, unequal treatment, and emotional distancing have finally taken their toll. What was once a family of 20-plus members operating under one roof in spirit, if not literally, has now fragmented into separate lives spread across states, divided not just by geography but by pain, disillusionment, and broken bonds. KODY's decision to reach out to his estranged children and show up both physically and emotionally in moments where he had previously remained absent has created a tidal wave of reactions. After years of being accused of favoritism, particularly toward his fourth wife Robin and their children, he is finally attempting to make amends with those he pushed aside. His older children, especially those from his former wives Christine, Yanel, and Mary, have long vocalized their grief and confusion at his perceived abandonment. For many fans, it was heartbreaking to witness Yanel's sons express their sorrow on camera, wondering why their father no longer seemed to care. Christine's children have similarly struggled with the shift in family dynamics, with daughter Isabel undergoing a major back surgery without KODY's support due to his strict COVID-19 rules, which many felt disproportionately benefited Robin's household. Against this heavy backdrop, KODY's recent actions are being interpreted as an emotional olive branch. He was spotted attending a family gathering outside of his usual sphere with Robin, showing up to a birthday party for one of his grandchildren, a child of one of Christine's daughters. To those watching, it wasn't just a casual drop-in. It was the first sign in years that he was willing to physically cross emotional borders that had been fortified by years of hurt and bitterness. The smile on his face, the effort he made to pose for pictures, to hug and speak openly, was not lost on the adult children who had long wondered where their father had gone, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Though the move may seem small to outsiders, to the Brown family, this was seismic. It was the first time in recent memory that KODY was willing to exist in a space where he was not in control, where his presence might be met with cold stares or even indifference. In previous seasons of Sister Wives, KODY struggled to show humility. He often defended his actions as logical, necessary, or spiritually mandated. Now, viewers are witnessing a man attempting to come to terms with his own fallibility. Whether he is aware of the full extent of the hurt his caused remains to be seen, but his presence at events involving his estranged children is no small feat. Behind the scenes, many speculate that KODY's recent change is spurred not by a spiritual awakening but by loneliness. With Mary, Yanel, and Christine gone, and only Robin remaining, the grand vision of a united plural family has completely crumbled. The once bustling family homes have emptied, replaced by the silence that follows estrangement. KODY's children are no longer little ones begging for attention, but adults with opinions, memories, and voices that speak the truth of what they experienced. Some fans believe that KODY's actions are less about healing old wounds and more about reclaiming some semblance of his lost patriarchal identity. Reaching out to his children might be an attempt to reintegrate himself into a narrative that has long since moved on without him. Still, others offer a more sympathetic interpretation. After losing so much, marriages, relationships with children, community respect, it's possible that KODY is finally beginning to understand what matters. It's one thing to lose control over a household, but it's another to see your legacy dissolve in real time. His latest interactions show moments of vulnerability. In conversations with Yanel on the show, he has acknowledged feeling grief over his family falling apart. When speaking about Christine's departure, his voice has cracked, not just with anger but with sorrow. Perhaps this is a man waking up too late to the reality he constructed, and now trying to piece together fragments of a family he once took for granted. Christine, meanwhile, has expressed both cautious optimism and deep skepticism. She has moved on, remarried, and begun a new chapter in Utah with her children and new husband, David Woolley. Her decision to leave KODY was a radical act of self-liberation, one that inspired many fans and possibly even her fellow sister wives. Despite her independence, she has stated that her children's relationship with their father is not hers to dictate. She's encouraged them to engage with KODY if they wish, and while some have chosen to reconnect, others remain guarded. Yanel, similarly independent, has drawn a firm line between her own healing and KODY's journey. She has shown resilience in the face of heartbreak, managing to maintain connections with her children and expressing deep concern over how KODY's actions have affected them. In one emotional moment during the show, Yanel stood her ground, asserting that she would not be guilt-tripped into forcing her children to reconcile with someone who made no effort to show up for them. Yet, even she seems to acknowledge that KODY making the effort now could be meaningful if only he follows through. Robin, the last remaining wife, stands in a complex position. For years, she has been viewed as the catalyst for the family's downfall. Accused of monopolizing KODY's attention and distorting the principles of plural marriage to suit her own needs, Robin has often denied responsibility for the rift. But as KODY makes moves to reconnect with his older children and former wives' families, Robin's role comes under renewed scrutiny. Some fans believe she supports his recent actions, while others suspect she feels threatened by them. If KODY builds stronger bonds with his older children, especially those who have been vocal about their disdain for Robin, it could introduce new tension into the only marriage he has left. One particularly emotional scene recently filmed involved KODY visiting a daughter he had not seen in nearly a year. The exchange was awkward, uncertain, and laden with unspoken pain. The daughter, mature and composed, did not express overt anger but maintained a protective emotional distance. KODY, uncharacteristically, did not push. He listened. He cried. He told her that he missed her, that he had been wrong, that he wanted to change. Whether his words landed is unknown, but the attempt itself was monumental. For a man whose past apologies were often defensive and half-hearted, this time felt different. What fans now wonder is whether this is a phase or the beginning of a genuine change. KODY's history of emotional volatility, especially when confronted, leaves many skeptical. Still, those closest to him, including some of his children, are hoping for more. One adult child reportedly said that they are willing to keep the door cracked open but are no longer waiting at the window. The emotional climate in the Brown family is shifting. Where there was once silence, there are now conversations. Where there was pain, there is now acknowledgement. And where there was isolation, there may soon be connection. KODY Brown may never be able to fully rebuild the family he lost, but he seems to finally understand that showing up is a start. Whether this emotional turning point leads to true reconciliation or simply a more honest acceptance of where they all stand, it marks a new chapter in a story that has been anything but simple. As the next season of Sister Wives looms, all eyes will be on the ripple effects of KODY's latest move. Has the man who once ruled his family with spiritual authority and rigid expectations finally stepped down from the pedestal to meet them where they are? Or is this simply the latest evolution of a man still clinging to relevance in a world that's moved on without him? Either way, the emotional tides are turning in the Brown household, and the journey ahead promises to be one filled with reckoning, resolution, and perhaps even redemption.